Hey, welcome back, everybody. After looking at 1 and 2 on our travel documentary that we did, Brad and I, we realized there's a lot of stuff that we left out. And it was because of time and because it's so complicated. These things don't, happen overnight. So 3 months it takes for us to pack. And today we're at the Fender Circle Center in Corona, and Michelle Penning is doing a great lecture today on portrait photography, which is outstanding. So we thought that we would get together, Brad and I, and then talk about doing this again with regards to all the things that we missed out last time around. Yep. Because some of these little detail things are real important and I think really valuable for anybody that's thinking of going on a trip. So thanks for joining us again. And thank you, Brad, for joining us.
Thank you, Peter,
for
having me.
I'm glad you're along. So one of the things that is really important, and I recommend it, and it's not that expensive, are these air tags from Apple. And you can buy a box for 4 of them for 99 bucks. I have one in every camera bag. I have one also attached to the tripod bag, so that, and my carry-on, so that I know where my bags are all times. Also, I have them attached to the suitcase that I do as a physical check-in, so that I can track it. If something happens at the airport and your luggage is lost and they can't find it, at least then you can tell the authorities where your luggage is, which is a huge, huge deal. So one of the things I just want to go over is all these little extra bits and pieces that Brad and I take with regards to tripods, extra accessories, and so on. Anything that you want to add from last trip?
No, when I get something, I'll shake your arm and say,
okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
Insect repellent, especially to places that we go to, the tropics and so on. This is the high active DEET. It is 24-hour protection. It's a must. You've got to take. Absolutely got to take. The other thing that we take, and this is something that is very difficult to get hold of in the US, but because we travel to remote areas, it can be a real problem with clothing, underwear, and so on. So this is disposable underwear, okay? This is fantastic. It is extremely comfortable. It's $1.50, and at the end of the day, when you're finished wearing it, you dispose of it. You throw it away. It is superb. It is superb. Great quality gloves with the little thing on the top that you can stick your finger out or your thumb or whatever out. Works extremely well. I mean, extremely well. Poncho. Always take a poncho. You never know when you're going to get caught in a rainstorm or something happens. Spray-on betadine solution. This is polyvinyl pyrrolidone spray-on, which is phenomenal for burns and cuts. Anything that's, like that you need antiseptic treatment, especially we're out in some sort of landscape situation, you get cut, you want to make sure you take care of that. The other thing that's a must, even if you're traveling in the United States, this is called a bagel or donut, and it comes in 2 different sizes. This part attaches to the wall, and then, you plug this into the wall, and then you have multiple USB and plugs to plug in, because most of the power points in hotels and stuff like that, they're all on the floor, they're on the ground, or they're behind the bed. They're never in any convenient places. So this works extremely well. You have multiple things to plug into. This is a plus. This goes on every trip. One of the things that I've got stuck twice with now is you take photos, you have SD cards, you put a used one in one pocket and you pull a new one up. And I've done it once, and Brad's done it. We've lost SD cards accidentally by pulling out a tissue out of your pocket or whatever. The SD card comes out, drops on the ground, you don't notice that it's gone. So I have a pouch with new SD cards, and then I have another little pouch like this to put the used ones in. So at any time, used cards live in here, so that when I get back to the hotel room, I can download and then make sure that I haven't lost any of the media.
Let me just add to that.
Yes.
If at all possible, it's ideal to have enough SD cards so that you don't actually have to worry about downloading it and then formatting it and using it over on your trip. It's ideal to just use it, store it in here, download it so you have it in multiple locations, and then leave it alone. And then that way you don't miss any photos, because that also happened in one of our trips too.
Yeah.
So if you can, I know they're expensive, but ideally you just want to have plenty of them. So you just.
So I also number the back of the SD card so that if any card is missing, then you can see that the card is missing. But a mistake you have to be very careful of is thinking that a card is used, not with good current images on it, and then you overwrite on it, or you write, or delete it. We talked about it on the last trip, lightning trigger. If you're going to any places where there's a chance of lightning and it's going to be good, you need to pack a lightning trigger. It's a must, okay? Also carry a emergency kit with bandages and all sorts of other pieces in there, just in case. There's nothing worse than getting cut when you're on a trip or something happens and you need medication and gauze and bandages and so on.
And that happened on our last trip.
Happened on our last trip. It was a real problem. Okay, so then just very quickly, we're talking about tripods. This is from Really Right Stuff, and what I use this for is this clamps on to the tripod, and then I can put the camera here. So if I'm doing 2 long exposures and I want to use just one tripod, I can have the situation where there's 2 of these on a tripod, so that I get to minimize what I need to carry on location. This is for shooting low down to the ground. Okay, sits on the ground, put the camera on, sits there. This is also used, these Velcros is used for strapping to a tree. So on our last trip into the swamp, we couldn't get the tripod down because it was 12 feet deep of water. So we used this to strap the actual tripod to the tree for long exposure, 3, 4, 5 minutes, and it worked extremely well. The other thing that I totally recommend, spend the money. This is the new SanDisk Pro SSD card, 4 terabyte, and a transfer rate of 2,000 megabytes up and down. It's expensive, but it gives you also backup. So then you have backup with the used cards, you have the backup on the computer, and then you have backup on an external drive. So I'd like to have it at least 3 places and not always carry them all in the same when you're traveling. And again, this is the lightweight Peak design, carbon fiber tripod, works extremely well. The only problem with this, as we've talked about, because of the shape of this tripod and because it is so light, you have to be extremely careful in windy conditions, because this will actually take off. This will actually go, which actually happened to me. It took off, went off a cliff with the camera and the lens. So keep that in mind. Extremely light, great to travel with. Great to travel with.
You're doing fantastic, man. Wow. I've never seen you talk this much.
Yeah, well, it's unusual for me to keep talking like that. So one of the other things is obviously traveling on planes nowadays. You have to be so careful what you carry on. There's all sorts of restrictions. One of the other things that I do is I scan all my credit cards, I scan my passport, I scan anything that I need, scan it, and I email it to myself. So if something happens and we get stuck in Burma or Singapore and the wallet gets stolen and passport is gone, I'm able to then go online and to my email address and pull up all the documentation. Because if your passport is stolen or lost, it's a real problem. You could wait 3, 4, 5, 6 days at an embassy internationally before you can get your things back. Same as with credit cards. So if you have a color copy of that online, then you can just pull that information up. Also, when we travel, we give all the details of where we're going, what we're seeing, where we're going to be. In case something happens, you want your next of kin or whoever to know where you are at that time, because if something needs to be done. Also, I use the American Express Platinum card, and the reason for that is that even though it's $600 a year, something happens and you're overseas, you get medevaced back to the United States, and that's included, you know, as a part of the service with the card. And just be cognizant when you travel, and you've seen it on the news lately with the, you know, the basketball girl in Russia. There are restrictions around the world. When you travel to other countries, you've got to follow the rules that they have, otherwise you can be in big trouble. Going into Singapore, for example, if you get caught with any amount of, you know, drugs, it's the death penalty. So you have to be extremely, extremely careful. Just keep a good sense of where you are and make sure that, you know, everything around you is, you know, being taken care of with regards to not doing anything stupid or stepping out of line. Now, with regards to food, when you travel, what tip?
Don't drink the water.
Great tip.
Yeah, don't
drink the water. I do have tried the purification things, but you know, going into some mountain situations, especially into Asia and you know into Burma and places like that, always drink bottled water. Always drink bottled water, or anything that's bottled, because then you know it's going to be safe. But just be, you know, just be careful. Take lots of medication. Take lots of stuff for, you know, heartburn, diarrhea, pain medication, and things like that, and you'll be fine. Also,
pack your medication on your carry-on bag. Don't leave it in your checked baggage, just in case that gets lost. And if it gets lost, you might have problems refilling your prescription. So make sure that goes into your carry-on.
Anytime, and being diabetic, I need to take my medication. I take everything that I'm going to need for a week. I take it on the plane with me and make sure that it's always with me, because baggage gets lost nowadays. I mean, it's a horrendous problem and all the rest of it. But if you do some of these things and make sure that you have a good checklist and a good plan of what exactly you're going to do and what you want to see and what you want to do. And the other thing is, you cannot let yourself get upset and grumpy if the plane doesn't leave and you're stuck on the tarmac for 3, 4, 5 hours. You can't get bent out of shape, because these are things that are out of your control. Now, traveling nowadays, you have to be flexible. You have to be flexible and change your plans when it comes to bad weather, typhoons, you know, problems with the planes, not enough crew. There's a million things that can go wrong, and it does. You just need to be flexible and basically have a plan A, B, and C, so that, you know, when you get to a country and you go, well, that's not available, then you go to plan B. And also be generous, but be nice, and consider that you're representing the United States as an ambassador for photographers, so that you want to not get a reputation as being a complete ass when you're traveling. To be nice, which is not always easy. Yes, and thank you, Brad, for your comment on that particular note. So that's about it. I mean, it's basically, you know, the thing that I always make a mistake on is I always take too much equipment, and the last couple of trips we're cutting down, less camera bodies, less lenses, less everything, but it's not easy because you start to panic. So now I'm starting to practice to take, just on a photo tour or a trip, just take one body and 2 lenses, and that's it, and work within those means, okay? And then
I can't stress that enough either. I mean, know what you're going to photograph. Don't what if yourself to death. Well, what if we see this, or what if we come across that? Know what you're photographing, take the equipment necessary for that, and don't go too heavy, because it will kill you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, on our last trip. Hey, so thanks for watching. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. And next trip that Brad and I take, it's going to be another big adventure. And I can't tell you too much now because we're in the planning stage, but it's going to be absolutely epic, and we'll bring you little videos and stuff along the way. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.
So who would have known that sitting next to the toilet, there'd be thousands of people walking in and out and banging the door, for Christ's sake. Everywhere we go, there's just...
No, that's good though, because we're on scene. Who cares if there's that stuff going on?